Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. I want to thank God for this opportunity to come before you guys and speak on emotional intelligence again. Thanking Apostle Garner and Prophet Yolanda for another opportunity to speak on such an important topic. Before we get into the topic, the details of this evening, I'd like to share with everyone our definition again. So, we've been talking about emotional intelligence for the past few weeks. And again, I stress that this is an important topic. I think it could help us individually, it could help us in our families, it could help us in every area of our lives. And that's why I find it to be such an important topic for us to talk about and dissect. So, again, I'm going to share our definition that we've been sharing these past few weeks and a definition that we've broken down. That I think is a pretty good definition. It's pretty self explanatory. And so that definition is a skill to perceive the intended meaning so that we can use our emotions in a positive way, causing about there to be a decrease in rigidness in our body, tightness in our body, so that we can speak compassionately, we can speak clearly, we can speak concisely, we can speak directly, while discerning another individual's emotions and imagining what you may be feeling, imagining what that individual may be feeling. Okay? That gives us the opportunity, it gives myself and the other party the opportunity to overcome challenges. It gives us the opportunity to diffuse conflict and build stronger relationships, help us succeed at work, at school, in any area of our lives, achieving career goals, achieving personal goals. It's teaching me to connect with my feelings and turn those feelings into intention, then turning it into action. So, again, stressing the importance of work, talking about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence suggests how we communicate with ourselves. It talks about how we interact with other individuals. And so, having emotional intelligence, whether you're functioning on a high level of emotional intelligence, whether you're growing your emotional intelligence, no matter what level that you are on, it impacts every area of our lives. It impacts our ability to understand our emotions, to learn about our emotions, to manage them, to grow and to have higher level of emotional intelligence and to cope. So today that's going to be kind of my base for the discussion for today. And I'm going to focus on those four words: learn, manage, grow, and cope. And so when we're talking about learning about our emotions, I know that may seem like, well, we all know, but there are times we may not know why, right? It may be times where we don't understand. When I get angry, how do I act? It's about learning about my emotions. When I do become angry, what's my response? When I'm sad, what's my response? When I'm happy, when I'm frustrated, when I'm annoyed, what is my response? How do I feel? How do I act when I'm feeling that particular emotion, right? So it's about learning about my personal emotions and how, after I learn about my emotions, then that's going to tell me how I'm responding to people. It's going to tell me how I respond to situations. When there's a situation that happens at work and maybe someone caused there to be you to be angry and or upset. And so in that time of feeling that angry emotion, do you shut down? Do in that moment, do you become so angry until you're blaming the individual that you were in contact with? Are you criticizing that individual? Are you thinking about leaving? Are you drawing up a resume all in your mind, all simultaneously because you're angry, because I don't know how I respond? So, am I not knowing how I respond? Am I not knowing how to manage my emotions? I'm not coping well. And so, I'm going to the extreme. I'm criticizing you, I'm blaming you, I'm accusing you, and I'm going to the way extreme. I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. I didn't appreciate this. I'm not valued at this company. because of a situation maybe that you didn't understand, because of something that someone may have said, maybe it was taken out of context. No matter the situation that it was in, being able to understand your emotions and how you respond, how you react, and it is coping, whether it's in a healthy way and or a negative way. How do I respond whenever I am uncomfortable in a situation, whenever my emotions are not one of happiness or joy, whenever it steps outside of those parameters? What's my response? How am I feeling? What am I thinking about? What am I doing? And so I think it's important to ask ourselves when we're thinking about emotions, when we're talking about this topic, and when we're going through this, how do I respond? What's my go to? What do I do? Do I always shut down? Do I isolate? Do I become angry and shut the world out and blame, accuse? Do I criticize? Do I become a one man island? I'll do everything by myself. In this world alone. And then, like we talked about last week, those thoughts, then we're going down that trail of negative thought process because I have an emotion that's anger and I don't have the healthy coping skills. And so now I'm just thinking all types of things. So, learning about our emotions, it can aid in how we manage them. I can't manage what I don't know. So, if I don't know my emotions, if I'm not in tune with my emotions, if I'm not aware of how I'm feeling, what I'm feeling, then I can't manage them. I can't manage something that, oh, it sprung up on me. I'm feeling this way. And so now later on, I'm in the emotion now, right? So now I'm working to try to manage that feeling. Now I'm trying to work on managing that emotion. So I think it's important when we're talking about emotional intelligence. And one of the things that is important is learning about our emotions, learning about how I respond to different situations, how I respond to people. What is my reference point? And when I mention reference point, emotions, okay, this happened before. I felt this before. How did I respond before? Did I respond positively or did I respond negatively? We're growing our emotions because I'm becoming in tune with my emotions. And because I'm becoming in tune with my emotions, now I'm able to remember back on someone did make me upset at work the last week, but I responded this way and I received a positive result. Or I responded negatively and this result happened and I didn't much like that result, right? So, the importance of managing those emotions is learning about that emotion, being able to understand that particular emotion, no matter what the emotion is, right? So, when we go from learning about our particular emotion, now we're talking about managing that emotion. Now we're talking about controlling that emotion. We're talking about giving ourselves that opportunity to grow in a particular area, finding ourselves in the thing about emotional intelligence that I value and I can appreciate so much is because, as I stated earlier, no matter if it's family, no matter if it's friends, we are some way impacted by our own emotions. In some way, we are lending our emotions to an environment, to an atmosphere. So, emotional intelligence and how we manage that is all around us and it's on a daily, right? Because one of the things that we have to remember is whether it's a family member, a friend, whether it's work, whether it's an organization, whether it's sports, in those situations on a daily basis, there is that potential to elicit some negative emotion. It is the potential for a negative emotion to come about on a daily because we're interacting with other individuals. And going back to our definition, that's why it's important for me to perceive the intended meaning of a thing. When I perceive the intended meaning of a thing, then that alleviates and it takes away the misunderstanding, it takes away the assumptions because now I'm focusing on, okay, What did you mean by that? I'm giving you grace. I'm lending compassion. I'm lending empathy to that situation. And so, because we know that there's the potential every day to put us in a position to where it may elicit a negative emotion, because we know that then being able to manage our emotions after we've learned about what our emotions are and how we respond to situations. Now I'll be able to manage this. Now I have the choice. Am I going to respond emotionally in a positive way? Am I going to respond emotionally in a negative way? How am I going to respond? I have reference points. Last time I responded positively and lent my emotions to this atmosphere in a positive way, relationships were built, friendships were built. I improved at work, maybe in school. Something worked in my favor. When I responded negatively, maybe something didn't work in my favor. It depends, right? And so when we're talking about that negative emotion and the potential for on a daily basis that we're put in situations where I might not feel happy. I might not feel joyous because of what happened, but I do have the choice. I do have the power to decide because that emotion is coming up. I have the choice. I have the power to decide how am I going to respond? Am I going to respond positively or do I respond negatively? Being able to manage emotions causes us to, again, react either positively or negatively. Having high emotional intelligence comes with knowing whether to walk away from a situation, causes us to know whether we should speak on it firmly, causes us to know whether we should laugh. It gives us discernment to know how am I handling this situation in this moment? What's the next thing that I need to do? And how am I going to respond? So that's the first two of the four words that I mentioned when I mentioned learn, manage, grow, and cope. The first one was learning and understanding our emotions and how we respond to situations and or people. The next one was managing that. How am I responding to this situation? Am I responding positively? Am I responding negatively? I have that power. I have that choice. It's my decision to make if I am going to respond in kind to get the desired results that I desire. Okay, the next one is cope. And so with coping, it is suggested within the mental health field that if you have high emotional intelligence, that you have higher selection of coping skills or healthier coping skills. Because if I have higher emotional intelligence, then that means I have discerned someone's intended meaning. That means I've used my emotions positively. That means I've shown compassion. I've shown empathy. I've communicated effectively. That means the conflict was averted. It means all of those things. And so coping now affords me the ability to choose from healthier coping strategies, right? Coping strategies including music, exercising, talking, drawing, just to name a few. But having emotionally high intelligence means that we can undertake and have more willingly active acts comforting problems. And so if I have a situation and I want to flush that out just a little bit more, I got a little tongue tied. So going over that again, when I have high emotional intelligence, it means that when I'm faced with a problem, when I'm faced with a situation, when my emotions have the opportunity to go positively or negatively, after I'm managing that, now how am I going to cope with this? How am I going to handle this situation? How am I going to deal with this? Again, am I going to deal with it in a healthy manner? Am I going to deal with it in a positive manner? Do I do healthy coping skills that bring me joy? Or do I fall back on things that produce no fruit for me? How do I handle that? That's what that means when we go from learning to managing to coping. Now, if I have, pardon me, there are tons of coping skills out there. There's so many to be able to choose from, and managing stress, managing situations. One of the things that I like to share with people is you can choose from a list of coping skills, but it's also about knowing who you are. It's about knowing what you enjoy. It's about knowing what brings your heart joy, makes your heart smile, right? So if I'm dealing with a stressful situation, what are some things that I can do, something healthy that I can do that can mitigate feelings of stress, mitigate feelings of anxiety, mitigate feelings of anger? What are some things that I can do? Going for walks, does that help? I know something in the wintertime in Chicago, that might not be feasible all the time. What else can I do? Can I exercise in my own home? Can I draw? Can I read? Can I write? Can I call someone? What are things that I enjoy doing that after I have learned and managed these emotions, now how do I address this in a positive way? How do I address this situation in a healthy way? How do I address this and manage my own emotions in such a way that it's still causing about a positive environment and a positive outcome for the situation that I found myself in? And again, learning about coping skills, I like to encourage taking time out to find out what I enjoy doing, taking time out to find out who I am, what makes me laugh, what makes me smile, what causes me to no longer be so stressed out till I can't think, I can't function, I need to escape, I'm avoiding. What are things that I can do in a healthy way that's positive for me and positive for the overall environment that I am in at that time? So when we're talking about managing, when we're talking about coping, it all works together, and it's like a circle. It kind of just all goes together because one definitely impacts the other, which impacts the other, which affects the other, which affects the other. And so when we're learning these things, okay, so when I'm angry, I usually maybe go off. But now I'm going to try to communicate. Now I'm going to try to get clarity on the situation. Okay, now I see that's producing good results, but I'm still dealing with this situation. How do I calm down? How do I manage these emotions? How do I manage this possible stress to cause about still a positive environment for me? Pick a coping skill. Learn about what I like, learn about who I am, putting the intention into action. That's the last part of our definition, right? It's putting that intention into action. And so the more we practice emotional intelligence, the more we practice these skills, the more we learn about them, then the higher our emotional intelligence grows. And I wanted to share tonight some of the things that we can do that can help aid in these and growing our emotional intelligence. And I did share some over the past couple of weeks, but I did want to reiterate them because when we're talking about these things, it's such a broad topic till I know that we won't be able to cover everything that entails emotional intelligence. And so I wanted to reiterate some things to continue to inspire hope in us. If there were ever thoughts of, "Oh, it's so much, I can't, it's so much," I want to continue to inspire hope that we absolutely can practice our emotional intelligence, causing about our emotional intelligence to grow to such a place that we are functioning at a high level of emotional intelligence. Some of those things is, I mentioned before, silence. When we're in a situation, we don't immediately have to speak in that moment. We can take a beat, we can take a step back and think. Think before we react. That either before we say something, before we do something, stop, listen. Let me replay in my mind what I just heard. Let me think about this before I respond. Having greater self awareness, right? Having empathy for others, truly listening to what an individual is saying to us as opposed to listening to respond. or grabbing hold to one thing someone says, and I got to respond to that. I have to respond to that. Listening to the entire statement, listening to everything that's going on around us, having that awareness, having that understanding of the intended meaning so that I'm not responding to a misunderstanding. I'm not responding to something I think I heard or something that I want to respond to. Empathizing with the individual, showing empathy, reflecting on a situation. Again, these are some ways that we can improve our emotional intelligence. And as we're improving our emotional intelligence, we're growing. We're growing in our emotional intelligence. We're learning, yeah, the way I acted before may have not helped, but this way, this definitely can help me moving forward. And so I really wanted to inspire hope and sharing those things again, because like I said, there are times where we hear a lot of information on a topic and understand that that topic is even broader than we could have imagined, and it can be intimidating at times. But having emotional intelligence, going back to our definition, is essentially positivity, lending positive emotions to a situation, being able to take a step back, listening to what's going on, being aware of my surroundings, being able to empathize with another individual, showing compassion to another individual, communicating effectively so that at least I'm lending emotional intelligence. I'm lending positivity. I'm not going home upset with myself. I'm not going home feeling condemned because I immediately reacted or responded without having looked around, surveyed my surroundings, understood what was going on around me. And so I want to do a small recap from tonight. And we're talking about learning, managing, growing, and coping, right? Learning about our emotions, understanding my emotions, understanding how my emotions impact what I'm dealing with, understanding how I react. Again, do I shut down? Do I spiral? Do I accuse? Do I criticize? Am I making decisions hastily, impulsively? And then I have to come back and be like, man, I could have waited. I should have waited. Maybe I did not fully understand. And then when we're managing that, because I'm learning, okay, I respond this way. So now I'm learning. I have the decision to make. Am I deciding positively? Am I deciding negatively? I'm growing because I'm practicing my emotions. I'm practicing in different situations. It could be something as simple as going out with a friend, going someplace, and you say hello to someone and they don't say hello back. We can say, that's why I don't say hello to people, go off. I know you heard me. You could have said something back. Or maybe they didn't hear me. Keep it moving. We can practice intelligence, emotional intelligence in the smallest ways, like that example. I could either respond negatively and get angry, and the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm thinking about how someone didn't speak back to me. I know they heard me. They could have spoke to me. I know you saw me. I was standing right there. Or maybe they didn't hear me. Maybe they were thinking about something else, and later on it may have registered, oh, maybe was someone speaking to me? Maybe that's not all the time that happens, but the point is I have the responsibility of, am I going to respond positively or am I going to respond negatively? Am I going to practice emotional intelligence every day so that I can continue to function on higher forms of emotional intelligence, so that I can teach my kids, so I can teach those around me? Let's communicate effectively. Like, let's show each other compassion. Let's show each other empathy. Let's communicate. How do I want to show emotional intelligence? How am I going to continue to practice emotional intelligence? And then when we go from managing, when we go from growing in that emotional intelligence, because we are practicing, now we're coping. Now we're understanding, I'm coping with I'm coping with a situation. I'm using healthy coping skills to address what I'm dealing with. I'm using healthy coping skills, no matter what that may be, whether I'll use the same ones, whether I'm drawing, whether I'm exercising, whether I'm journaling, whether I call someone. I'm using healthy coping skills because I have practiced how to have high emotional intelligence so that I'm responding positively to situations. Because I'm responding positively to situations, now I'm coping in healthy ways. I'm coping with situations in healthy ways. I'm sharing with others how they can cope, I apologize, in healthy ways. And so I do pray that on tonight that you were able to receive something from what I shared. We will be meeting one more week, and next week will be the final week when we continue to talk about emotional intelligence, where I'll continue to share different things that can help improve our emotional intelligence, can help us to continue to grow in emotional intelligence, and continue to help us cope and learn. Just do a full recap on what we've talked about these past few weeks. I do hope you were blessed by tonight's talking on emotional intelligence, and Bishop will come and take up the offering. God bless.
There are 5 ways to give, 5 ways to give. They appear on your screen right now. We want you to take the opportunity to sow and invest in Rivers Chicago. Families, friends, partners, we are building the house of prayer, and we would love for you to partner with us. You can partner by giving on a monthly basis at text to give at the number 206-859-9405. You would text the word give, the number 2, ROLW. You can mail your gifts in P.O. Box 4315, Oak Park, Illinois, 60304. You can utilize our Cash App, $Rivers, HOP. HOP stands for the House of Prayer. That's what we're building. That's what we're looking forward to. And we have our faith at an all-time high. You can Zelle at give@riverchicago.com. That email address is give@riverchicago.com. And if you have not done so, we ask that you download our Rivers Chicago app. That way you can stay in touch with us. All things Rivers will come across that app. You can get that from your Google Play Store or from your Apple Store. As always, we want to thank you for being a part of our broadcast on tonight. Have a great evening. We'll see you next week at 7 a.m. for the conclusion of Emotional Intelligence. Bye for now.